Welcome back to The Den, where we talk everything personal finance, money, and real estate. I'm your host, Greg. Today I have my wife, Rachel, with me, and we're going to be talking about our first fixer-upper, the first home that we ever bought. We're going to run through the entire construction process because we did it all ourselves. It's not just me. She was in there doing all the drywall and the painting and all those fun tasks. So I figured it'd be a good topic for a podcast because if you're looking to get into a fixer-upper or just kind of want to know the process of it, it's cool to hear from somebody that has done one and is hands-on in the process.
Yes.
So, Rachel, why, when we were looking for our first house, did we decide to buy a fixer-upper as opposed to a house that was already move-in ready?
So at the time we were living in, an apartment, and
What was the rent in the apartment?
Was it $800?
It was like $776 or something.
Yeah, we had an apartment, so we had been working really, really hard to pay off the debt that we had, and we had successfully paid off my college loans and some medical debt we had, and we had paid off my car, I believe, at that time. And so
No, we hadn't paid off the car yet.
Okay,
we had bought you a car.
We bought me a car.
We bought you the SUV,
but we were working on paying it off. But we were in that process of paying it off, and so it seemed like the next logical step was to buy a house. But we didn't have a lot of money because our budget was really tight, and it was all going towards paying off debt first. And so we didn't have a lot of money saved. When we got married, we were, about $25,000 in debt that I brought into our marriage for my school debt and some medical debt. So we wanted something we could afford. We wanted something we could, we didn't want a 30-year mortgage where we felt like it really wasn't our house. We wanted something that we could actually afford to have.
Because at the time when we bought the fixer-upper, it was estimated that we'd pay it off in 10 years or 11 years. We ended up paying $75,000 for it. And obviously this is, pre-COVID. So that was definitely a lot more possible. But we were being aggressive with our payments, and that was our goal. We didn't intend to flip it. We intended to buy it, renovate it, and live in it. Because if you're broke, then you have to get used to making nice things. If you want nice things, if you don't want nice things, that's fine. But Rachel was like, I wanted something nice, and I felt like as a husband, it was not my duty, but I wanted to give her something nice. But really, we couldn't afford it.
We couldn't.
And so looking at these fixer-uppers, she also called me not handy, which at the time, it was probably true.
Did you own a drill?
Yes.
Did you own a drill that was not your grandpa's drill?
Yes. It's that little one that the kids play with now that's in the kitchen.
You mean like the one that's for moms to put up their curtains in their kitchen?
Yes, that one. It's not even. It's tiny. It doesn't even have any.
No, it's like a.
It's for screwing in screws. It's not for
It's for hanging curtains.
Yeah, or screwing. I don't know. It's more
Point proven.
It's more like screwing in
a machine. Not handy.
Screwing in a machine screw into the back of a TV or something. Not not even a drywall screw. So this is true. Since at that time that was true. Since then, I've done 14 full renovations. So slightly more handy now. Seven of those were houses that we have owned. So at the time, we paid $75 for it. It was listed originally at $100. Then they dropped it. Went in and out of contract. It went in and out of contract again, and eventually they dropped to $80. And we ended up buying it for $75 or something. We offered them $68, and they were like, no. And we're like, okay, we'll go to, we'll meet in the middle at $75.
Yeah.
And that kind of started our journey. I think my thought behind it was, granted, we didn't go into it thinking we were going to flip it at all. That was never even on the radar.
Our intention was to live in it, was to live in the area. I had a job there. We were in North Carolina, right? It's lots of hiking we did and stuff. So our intention was to stay in the area at the time.
And so just in my thinking, I'm like, okay, I didn't know how to run, comps or comparables for houses to determine in the short term or even the long term if this was going to be a good investment. I'm just thinking, just based on the neighborhood and kind of where everything was. roughly it'll be worth about $130,000. So my goal was to buy it and then we do some renovations, but then like not lose our money essentially. Like when we went to sell it, we'd just be able to get our money back out of it because, you know, with a fixer upper, you can't pay full price. Even I knew this at this point, at that point back in the past, was that you can't pay full price, renovate it, and then think that you're going to get all of your money back out of it.
Yeah. Now when we go into buying houses, you know, we obviously have different strategies, and we'll make another podcast on that, like, you know, exactly what numbers we run. But this is just us doing our best at the time.
Yeah.
Also, Greg told me, fun fact. I was like, I don't know about living in a fixer-upper, Greg, because I'm working full-time. I was teaching in low-income schools and a school, and my job was very busy. And I spent a lot of time at the school. I was investing in the students and programs and things. And he's like, I'll have it done in 8 weeks.
That was dumb. That was really dumb.
2 years later.
Because I kid you not. Granted, I could do it obviously a lot quicker now. But I kid you not.
Renovations are 12 weeks.
We gutted the kitchen. Like, not when I say gut, I mean down to the studs. Like, we took the drywall out.
I just took it
upstairs. We had to add drywall because it just had like wood paneling. Like every single surface, every single ceiling, every single wall in this house had to be touched. There wasn't any walls that we could just go and just paint. They all had to be patched. They all had to be repaired. Everything. The only thing we didn't do was the floor.
Yeah, we did the kitchen floor and the bathroom floors, but the wood floor in the house, you know, now we know more about wood flooring, so we would have probably like shined it and stuff.
Yeah, we done something
but
different.
At the time, you know, we didn't know about that, so it was what it was.
So let's talk about the interesting aspects. I feel like people are most interested in the high ticket items, which would be the kitchens and the bathrooms. So how did you, because I didn't design this kitchen, how did you design our kitchen? Because just as a overall arching, not budget, but what we spent was roughly, I want to say $1,800, $2,000 on cabinets. And then we've got another $300 in countertops and then appliances. And that was it.
And we had flooring,
but we scored on that one. We paid 99 cents a square foot. Oh, plus the underpads. So it was like $1.69 a square foot.
Yeah. So, you know, when you're asking me how did I design it? So I did not have design experience. I had two different teaching degrees and a Bible minor. So that was not, I started praying we were going to finish this project. I was skilled in prayer, but not in design. So actually it felt like I was a little bit out of my comfort zone. And that's just, you know, we've gotten into design now. That's part of our life, but you know, it was totally new for me. So I started looking around. Pinterest was kind of the thing at the time. I still look at Pinterest, but now I look at other things too, and different designer magazines and stuff. But at the time, I looked at Pinterest and I saw like what was in. And then we went to Home Depot and we walked the aisles. Lowe's. And we walked the aisles. And when we went into Lowe's for our appointment for the cabinets, we wanted like the cheapest stock cabinet. So the options were like a white or like a wood.
They didn't even have the gray shaker option.
There was no gray.
It was literally just a white.
And the wood was like a non-painted, like you'd spray it yourself.
Yeah, it was like an unfinished cabinet.
And so then
it wasn't like a shaker style.
Like white cabinets then, timeless, right? And I don't know, I just kind of looked at, okay, like handles, what am I seeing online and what are they have in the store? So, and then like at the time, Subway tile was really in, so we still actually use Subway tile this year.
We still use the same cabinets.
We will see next year if we decide, you know, if we get some great flips, what our backsplash will look like. I'm thinking about that actually, but you know, that was what was going on. And then concrete counters, we priced out counters. We couldn't afford anything but concrete and to build it ourselves.
Well, part of the reason was that so we went to Lowe's to have them to do solid surface, which is kind of like it's kind of like a laminate thing. Like it's not like it's like one that they custom do and bring in. But it's super expensive. Like it's not.
It's a expensive piece of plastic.
Yeah, and it's not. It's different. If they're bringing in granite or quartz. Like okay, like I'm gonna pay.
This is not a stone.
I'm gonna pay a premium for that. So I had them essentially, long story short, they tried to overcharge us. They were trying to charge us not only for, they tried to charge us for the sink cutout, which that's fine. Normally, like that's a normal thing. But when we went to originally buy it, they told us that they weren't charging us for that whole sink section. And obviously this was...
We got two different stories.
Yeah, obviously this was an error on the Lowe's employee's part. But me not knowing any better was expecting to not pay for that. But that's, you know, that was like a handful of square feet. And plus they were charging us... Their measurements were wrong, essentially. They had a guy come out. The measurements they took were correct, but they were charging us wrong. And I actually ran the numbers based on the square footage, and it ended up charging us an extra like $600 for these countertops. And I'm like, I'm not paying an extra $600.
Yeah.
For this, because we had a pretty decent amount of square footage. Like we saved money on the cabinets, so we had a ton of cabinets. We had like 40 square foot of cabinets, like or of a countertop space. It was a pretty decent amount when you're trying to put a countertop over that.
It was like L-shaped.
Yeah, it was L-shaped. And so I just went to Lowe's and was like, yo, you guys just got to refund us for this. They hadn't put them in. They pretty much just came out and take measurements. And I'm like, listen, this is the measurements that you gave me. This is the square footage that it's coming with. Even if you include the sink cutout, you're still overcharging me. And they were like, oh, whatever.
Outside company.
Yeah, they were just subcontracting out. So I ended up building, at the time, it was the only affordable option, was concrete countertops.
Can I talk about that?
Yeah. That turned out to be a really good pour, but that was a really, really long process.
So how this house was you walk in the there was many doors to it was the house of many doors. We entered it on the side door on the right side. So you would enter in on the right side. Okay. And then there was a living room and a dining room that was an open space because we knocked out a wall. So it was living room, dining room, and you could see all the way into the kitchen that was open.
The kitchen had a really big doorway. It wasn't like fully open.
Really big.
But it was the doorway was probably 7 feet wide.
Yeah, you could see people in the kitchen. So what we did was we took tarps. We just laid out all the tarps we owned on the floor.
Our dining room floor.
And then Greg built by hand so I was doing like drywall, I was doing painting, I was doing like demo. Greg was building, did a lot of things, but he built the frames for the custom counters. You can take essentially you take melamine, which is just like they use them for a lot of like shelving units and stuff like that. So I built it out of that. Do we even have the spinner thing? Or did we have to
Nope.
we hand mix that concrete? I mean, we just
hand mixed it.
These are like nights and weekends.
And now normally like when you do a concrete countertop, everybody's like, oh, you know, get the vibrating motor to shake it or something to like shake the bubbles out. But this was like before it became popular, because this would have been like early 2018. And so I'm like, oh, I just heard about this concept. So we're straight up just pioneering. I think it was maybe like the Lowe's YouTube channel put out like build a concrete countertop or something. You were
still eating a lot of protein bars.
Yeah. And so it was it was tough.
So we poured it in our house. So we just like kind of pushed the furniture over.
I mixed the concrete in the house too.
Yeah, and we just poured that sucker and just leveled it out, and it took both of us, and it was heavy.
So heavy.
It was so heavy, and
obviously it was like 5 bags of concrete a pour, like each slab. Obviously it's heavy. That was stupid of me to think it wasn't going to be heavy.
So it dries up. We're ready to set it. Like there's way more steps in concrete counters. So just know this is not us teaching you how to do concrete counters. Use YouTube. This is not a lesson on that. But once they were finished, which just took a long time, so we probably had like a week of this stuff in our house.
It was more than a week.
Yeah.
It was more than a week because they were fully cured by the time we moved them. So that means they were on the floor for 30 days.
We had like plywood counters at the time that I was using to cook.
Yeah.
So we get a couple guys, I think from church or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if our Uncle Mark was there. He liked to come and help us with some projects and hang out. And we had a really good time. But we had some people come. They go to pick it up to set it, and it does not fit.
It's close. Here's the thing. I use the
close.
exact measurements they gave me
These
from
measurements.
the solid surface plate. I just copied those measurements, put them right
Well,
there.
It didn't fit. It was like, half an inch off. Not even. Less than half an inch. But this is concrete, so it's not going to bend.
It does.
So legit, we stop, we put it down, and we pray. We just start praying, dear Lord, to place off this to fit. Because we didn't, what were we going to do?
She was praying.
I
was like, God!
And I was just like, dear God.
Oh, no, that was probably so loud on that mic.
And we were just praying. I was praying. He was like testosterone filled, like these guys. Like,
Well, yeah, because I've been sitting on. Oh, it was terrible.
it fit. God did it.
It was okay. It was overall, it was a horrible process, but it's really affordable. And I've had a bunch of pours since then that have turned out good.
Good,
You
yeah.
just take a little bit of prep work. You can't just like wing it. And I just winging it.
But yes.
I'll put some pictures up of the kitchen on the screen so you can see it. So overall, like it sounds terrible, but it wasn't that bad.
No, so we did the concrete counters. We laid the subway tile, put some handles on the floor. We clipped in the floor together. We had to take a lot of old flooring off, and that was the kitchen. And we bought an awesome
IKEA island.
IKEA island.
Yeah.
That was wonderful.
That was
And
nice.
we put stools in with it. It looked really good. I think it was $500 at the time. It's definitely not now, but I believe at the time it was 5 or 8. It wasn't more than 8.
I think it was 4 or 5.
I think it was seriously 400 or 500, which is like I feel like that's unheard of, but at the time it really was.
Yeah.
And then so the bathrooms,
The bathroom. So this whole like overarching kind of theme is that like you can have something that's nice and something that's trendy, but it still be affordable. You just have to be picky with your material choices and what you're going to hire somebody to do and what you're going to do yourself. Like kitchens and bathrooms are not that much harder to do than, drywall and painting.
Yeah.
But if you were to hire somebody to do kitchen and drywall, kitchens and bathrooms, you're going to spend a ton more because
so much money.
companies know that you'll pay extra for your kitchens and bathrooms because you want to be really nice.
Yeah.
But drywall, it's not that expensive to have somebody come in and do drywall for you because it's so labor intensive and they do it way quicker.
Is that why you hired me?
We didn't
all
hire
the drywall.
The only thing that we hired.
Because I did all the drywall. For
Yeah, you did all the drywall. Oh my goodness, I miss those days because now I do all the painting and I do all the. Now I do everything instead of just doing not the cleaning, the painting, the drywall,
A lot of the demo stuff I would
the
do.
demo. What else did you do?
Just a lot of random stuff. We also had a baby and finished some of it after the baby. So like, I would just kind of jump in.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot of drywall.
Yeah.
It was a lot of painting. We'd also never done it either, so we're like figuring out as we go. So, sorry, I went off tangent here. So the bathroom.
Well, you were gonna say the price. So
We found 12 by 12. So for my bathroom, I wanted large form gray slate tiles. I thought that was like super cool. At the time, it wasn't necessarily like in anymore. That was more like earlier, but that's what I wanted. And then we had a gray vanity and the same tile. So I did a 12 by 12, or sorry, not 12 by 12, 12 by 24 gray slate tile. It was 99 cents a square foot. And I learned how to tile. And I learned how to tile on the floor, and I learned how to do a shower. Mm-hmm. And that whole shower, the entire bathroom with the vanity.
We kept the tub.
Because we kept the tub, and we just tiled up from the tub. And then we kept the toilet, was $500, $600.
And it looked incredible. We'll show some pictures.
Because at 99 cents a square foot, it was like $300 worth of tile.
Yeah.
Like, because we went to, instead of going to Lowe's and Home Depot, we went to a bargain outlet. And was like, oh yeah, I like this tile. And then just bought enough tile that we were going to need. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to buy some of it, then I'm going to come back later and get it. Because obviously it's not going to be there. It's a bargain outlet.
Yep.
Which we did we didn't do the same thing. Because your bathroom was subway tile. We spent more on your bathroom.
Yeah. So my bathroom was subway tile in the shower. It's always great if you can keep the bathtub. that can be really tricky taking those out,
It doesn't
leveling a
necessarily.
shower and stuff. Like,
If it's a cast iron tub too,
yeah,
they're a pain in the butt.
it saves so much time. So, and time is money. So we kept that up there. And so I got a new vanity. It had like a marble looking top. It was a white vanity.
And the floor was like a marble look too, wasn't it?
We got a new toilet, and then we got porcelain tiles that looked like marble, but were not.
Okay.
And then we painted it like a light gray color. And this was the bathroom upstairs that was in basically like our master suite.
We had a Cape Cod.
Yeah.
So it was like upstairs was one entire room, and then the bathroom was in a dormer.
Yes. And what do you think that bathroom costed us?
It was a little bit more because I think that your subway tile wasn't 99 cents a square foot. I think subway tile was like, at the time it wasn't. It was cheaper. I think it was maybe like $209 a square foot or something. Like right now it's a little bit. That still sounds high. I don't know.
So what? The whole bathroom was $600?
I would say 600 max because
But but you think about that. That's so crazy. Like for $600, you're making your house worth thousands and thousands of dollars more.
Yeah.
And same with the bathroom, right? $600, same thing. It was like $500-$600. Thousands and thousands of dollars more. The kitchen, we said, was $1,800.
Plus the countertop, plus the floor. So we're probably out the door. I mean, if you include electrical and the sink, because we put the three, let's just say we were under $3,000, 100%.
We knew 100% how much all this costed at the time, by the way. We had spreadsheets.
Yep.
But it's been a lot of flips since then. So it's hard to remember. But
It'd be interesting. I've got them on a YouTube video.
But it cost thousands and thousands of dollars, right, that we made off of that kitchen, off of these bathrooms. My bathroom, it's funny because we actually couldn't use that bathroom until like the week we sold it. We finally figured out the plumbing.
Yeah, that was rough.
Like it was really rough because we didn't know anything about plumbing, right?
Yeah.
And so the tub wouldn't drain.
Well, the problem was that I did hire
And the toilet was funny.
Some people to try to come in and fix it, and they couldn't fix it either.
Yeah.
And so now me knowing now, I'm like, oh, that guy was an idiot. He should have known how to fix that. I know how to fix that. But obviously back then didn't know how to fix it either. So I'm like, oh, I don't know. But
I remember the hardest thing about that house was the bugs.
That wasn't us though. That was just the climate and where it was, because we don't have to deal with any of that stuff in New York.
That was the most like humbling part.
Yeah.
I think was we had a lot of bug issues that were not like easily taken care of.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just, yeah. It's just tough. All right. So one of the things that really increased the value of our house, I felt like, was when we painted the outside.
Oh, yeah.
And so I painted with it's funny. So this is actually the start of my increasing my financial IQ, my financial intelligence. Because during this time, when I'm on a ladder, my friend Cody came down for a couple of days to help me paint. We did the height stuff, but we painted a 1,600 square foot house with a brush.
With a brush.
Not a roller, a brush, because it was wood siding. And like wasn't, there was some like old paint on there, so it was like there's some texture to it. So instead of buying a sprayer, we hand painted this house.
Yeah.
He was there for about 4 days. We got some of the way through. I spent 3 weeks on a ladder.
I came out during nap time.
Yeah, which was really, really nice of you to come out during nap time, because Charlotte was only,
she was newborn
like
9
months.
months old.
Yeah, 9 months old. She was, you should have been resting. But so looking back, we should have just bought the sprayer, spent the $400. It's probably not even $400 back then.
$400 though back then, you might as well have said $10,000.
Yeah, $400 is a lot of money.
That was a lot of money to us.
Yeah, we didn't have. I guess that's true.
We didn't have a lot of money, so I mean,
because all the money that we had went into the repairs. I guess that's true. We didn't have $400.
I mean, we were living on a, we talked about this in the intro video, $15 a month spending, $5 to $15. Started at $5. Then went to $15 a month of like spending money for like anything extra, like extra coffee or anything outside of like groceries, and that include like, so if you needed a new shirt or whatever. And so, these repairs were like it was like, oh my word, we're spending so much money. We've never spent this kind of money.
Well,
We didn't
because
spend money to make money, but $400 for a sprayer at the time when we're like, we can just buy the brushes at the dollar store.
yeah,
Like, because we used to pick up brushes at the dollar store. Remember that?
yeah,
I mean, it was just, we didn't.
because we were cash flowing the repairs, so we were spending 300, like whatever we would be saving normally in our budget. That's just what we were spending on repairs. I think it worked out to be like $300 or $400. I remember like a couple of months where we were waiting to do projects because we were waiting to have
the
more
money.
money to buy the supplies.
Because we were also trying to pay off my car.
We were just at that point. Early on, we were just paying for your car. At the end,
We were putting more money down than what we owed each month.
yeah,
But we still had that extra cost.
yeah. Which looking back now, I think it was $306 for your car a month. Like,
Oh, totally. But a sprayer was $400. So
yeah, no,
you
exactly.
know, so it was like all relative.
Exactly.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing. So this is how broke we were while we were doing this, was that our electric bill was too high, and we were not prepared for that cost, because our HVAC was more inefficient than like the apartment, and so we cut 75 holes.
78.
78. So we just finished all the drywall. When I say we, I mean Rachel just finished all the drywall.
I had just not only done the drywall, I had painted this house.
Yep.
And I'm a little bit,
OCD.
yes, I like things.
It was perfect. The paint job was
Yes,
perfect.
it was beautiful.
The drywall was good.
Oh, and it was like an old house, so it had like the perfect trim guys. I mean, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It looked beautiful.
It had great trim. And so we're like, oh my gosh, why is our AC bill so high? And so we come to find out that our house doesn't have any insulation at all. Zero. So we
None.
cut these 78 4-inch holes and then blew insulation into every exterior wall.
So we cut holes in my perfect drywall.
Instead of
78.
So
holes.
now, looking back now, I'm
Every
like,
room.
oh my gosh, why didn't we just cut one strip at the top, pump the insulation down, then put that one strip back, and then you've only got one line to finish? Because we had crown molding up where the ceiling and the wall met, so we really only would have had to finish one line. It really wouldn't have been that big of a
But
deal.
we're talking about these holes were like
4-inch hole.
literally
It was a
really wide holes. And so then we blow the insulation in, which that's a funny story in itself, trying to blow the insulation in.
It was a long day.
It
We-
was.
yeah, it was a long day.
Well, because I fell asleep on top of it.
Yeah, and the car, Rachel's car that we had at the time, because by the time we blew, I guess we had, I had the Z at that time, and it didn't fit. The machine was too big. And so I had to make multiple trips from Home Depot just to get the machine and the installation back, and it was terrible.
Yeah, so then it was like a deal. Like you got free insulation if you run in this machine for a certain amount of time.
No, you got the machine free if
Free.
you bought X amount of insulation.
Okay. So, but we had like a time limit.
Yeah, we had 24
So
hours.
we had 24 hours to blow in all this insulation. And like, at the time we're both working. He's started a business working at that full time. I'm working full time. So it was just like, we were for hours and hours and hours, we're blowing all this insulation. We're both super allergic to it. Our allergies are like flailing. I remember being covered in like a rash because it's like fiberglass. It's this nasty stuff. And then I fall, like I'm like holding the machine. I don't know why I had to hold it. Was I supposed to be stuffing insulation?
Yeah,
What
you were
was I doing?
stuffing it. It like wasn't flowing right.
You had to like shake it to like.
Yeah, it like would get caught in the machine. I don't know. It wasn't working very well.
And I fell like asleep on top of the insulation thing. Like it was like shaking and vibrating. It was like warm because we'd had it on for hours, and I just felt like dead asleep.
It was terrible. So
And then I had to put the holes back in.
that took a long time.
Yeah.
So essentially, to sum up, we bought a house that was relatively affordable.
Yeah.
There was a chance that we were going to make money, but it wasn't definite. But we weren't going to lose money. That was guaranteed, because we ended up replacing the roof, did a little bit of foundation stuff. We were all in budget. We were at like 20 grand, because
We did pay to have someone do the roof.
we had to pay somebody to do the roof, and then somebody did the basement. They like encapsulated the basement. So that was like 10 grand in itself right there between those two things. So everything else was pretty much 10 grand in just our time. But keep in mind, we're both working. So this is just extra time that we have, nights and weekends, and then essentially extra income. And we ended up selling that house during COVID.
Yeah.
And that was our first flip. So do you think that you would do it again?
I think yeah. I mean, I think it was great. I think it really was a humbling experience. Like I went into it not thinking that I was going to do any of this work. That Greg was going to do it all.
I mean, I also thought that too, but
and it rocked our marriage for a second, but in a good way. It made us realize that we got into this together, and a lot of like at first I was really mad about it because I was like
for like a long time.
Yeah, I was mad for a couple months because I was really the job that I was pursuing at the time was really intense. And so I was exhausted, and it was just like another thing. But then once I realized like, okay, we're married, like our decisions and our finances are a we thing. Like we decided this was our choice. These are our finances. This is our bank account. This is our life together. And so what choice do we have? We got to figure it out.
By the time we started, it was already too late. We were already into it.
We were into it so deep. I mean, we totally gutted this house
we
couldn't afford the dumpster for more than a month. So we gutted the whole house. I mean, we were showering at the gym for a month.
She showered at the gym. I showered at the house. The shower at the house worked.
It was fine.
It was fine.
It was disgusting. It had like a spigot. You just like throw the water, and it had like this really dirty, nasty like plastic things.
I wasn't going to buy new plastic.
Oh, it was just uncleanly. But we got into the mess together, and honestly, I think it was a great building place for our marriage because we had to fight our way out.
Yeah, I think that
work hard together.
I think we had to give up a lot. We had to give up a lot of fun things. We had to give up a lot of hiking. We didn't go to pretty much as soon as we bought the house, we didn't go to the beach anymore. Because we were like a 3-hour drive from the North Carolina beaches. So we just, go down for the day.
We still hike sometimes, but it wasn't every weekend.
It wasn't every weekend. We didn't go camping. We pretty much went to work, and then evenings and weekends we worked.
But I can say that no one made us do this. We chose this.
Yeah.
And we wanted to be debt free. We wanted to live a life debt free. We wanted this investment to be worth it. And so it was worth the sacrifice. No one made us do it. Not going hiking as much as we wanted to, not doing all these extra things as much as we wanted to. But the idea that we could have this great house for a price we could afford, and at the time, in 10, 11 years, have it paid off, it was, that was crazy.
Yeah.
And we wanted that really bad. So yeah, I would definitely do it again. The next house we did was during COVID, and we lived with family for 3 months while we flipped that house. And I would definitely say with children, I would never want to live in a house we're renovating.
Yeah.
It was basically done by the time we had our daughter, and at that time I was a stay-at-home mom once we had our daughter.
Which is a totally different.
Yeah.
It's a totally different flip when you're not living in it, because then you don't have to clean up. You don't have to when I say clean up, you can leave a project where it is and be like, okay, I'm just gonna come back tomorrow. But you can leave the stuff out. You can leave the tools out. If you're I don't want to. Yeah. I'm not gonna sweep right now because I'm in the middle of this project. It's not time to clean yet. You don't have to clean up. But when you're doing it at home,
yeah,
it's I've got to clean up all these things.
We gotta take the saw off the kitchen table so that we can eat off the kitchen table. We gotta go put it on the floor and put it back on, or the counters. Wait, if we're gonna do stuff in the kitchen today, I've gotta get everything off these plywood counters. It was just a lot of shuffling. It was really dirty. I mean, it was just I had a lot of screws and stuff. It definitely wasn't for me for a family, but it was perfect timing. So yeah, I would, we have done it again. A lot of times.
It's
just
also
differently.
It's also, you have to look back at it fondly, because essentially that house jump started us in flipping business, buying rentals, paying for this house. it catapulted us in a different way.
And we never saw that coming. We weren't starting it to become house flippers or, we didn't see that in our future, but God had a way of putting it in our story.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that, and that we did put it in our story.
Yeah.
And I think it taught us about hard work and resilience and appreciating what you have. Because when we finished that house, it was only finished for a very short amount of time before we sold it.
One day.
I really enjoyed that day. I sat at that island. I remember sitting there drinking my coffee.
Well, we had the island for like a month. We had
For
the
a
island
month,
for a
yeah.
month. But the
But
house
I
was
remember-
like done for one day, and then the next day we listed it.
Like at the very end, we enjoyed that house.
It was
It
nice.
felt good. And then when we got that check,
That felt better.
it felt even, yeah.
That felt better.
So what did we, can you walk, what was our profits on that house?
We paid.
I'm not remembering.
This is where the numbers get good. This is where I like. This is what I really like. So we paid $75,000 for the house.
Right.
We have $20,000 in rehab, so that puts us at $95,000. We paid we sold it for
So we were in for how much?
95.
Okay.
95 grand. We sold it for $165,000. So with 165, 1, 2, 3, there was 6% in realtor fees because 3% of the buyer, 3% to the seller. So $9,900 in fees. Roughly, this is like a more technical thing. Roughly, there's about a 1% transaction fee that happens with like title and all that kind of stuff. So just in general. But the check that we received was just over $58,000.
And we were, really floored.
So imagine both working full time, still making money,
Yeah.
essentially dumping all our extra money into the house.
Into an investment.
But then our nights and weekends made $60,000.
Yeah.
And it's not like it was every single night and weekend, but it was a lot of them.
Yeah.
But that's extra. That's pretty much between which we talked about in the last, like our first episode, starting our, saving 40% of our budget and really tightening our budget down again. And that helps. But yeah, you get a $58,000 check. That's really, really nice. Also, a benefit, this is like a little bit of a tax thing, is that because we were owners and occupied the property and our tax status is married filing jointly, we didn't pay taxes on that money because when you're married filing jointly, you don't pay taxes on up to $500,000 in gains currently at this time. Granted,
if you
this isn't
hold
tax
a house
advice.
for 2 years.
Yes, you have to own it and live there. But keep in mind, this is not a tax advice, and I'm not a CPA professional, so consult your tax professional. But for us, we didn't pay taxes on those gains. So like for us, when we sell this house, we won't pay taxes on these gains because we will gain on this house because this was, again, another fixer. And
This was the next house we bought. Our second house
so we
purchased,
again,
we live in currently with our children.
So we're going to come out with another episode on the podcast talking about, what do we talk about? It was like hacking, like finance hacks or something, or personal finance hacks or something.
Yeah, personal finance hacks. Way to cut corners in your budget. Ways to save.
Ways to get ahead.
Ways to get ahead, and ways to get ahead.
It's right here. That was a half-baked topic right there because we were literally just talking about it like 15 minutes ago as we were like writing these things down. But I think that's a good one. I think we should definitely talk about that. And flipping a house while you live in it and making it not a step up in a house, but making a lateral move to another house would be a great way to pay off that second house.
Because this house that we live in now actually cost us less because it was even in worse shape.
It cost us less than the first one, but it also cost us less than what we made on the first one.
It didn't have bugs. It had animals living in it.
Yeah, it didn't have bugs.
This house didn't have bugs. It had animals.
I'd rather deal with the animals.
And mold.
I'd rather deal with the animals than the squirrels. Or than the bugs.
Yeah, we had squirrels living in this house.
Yep, we got squirrels. We got lots of nuts up in these ceilings.
Yeah, that is for sure. Thankfully, they are eradicated. But yes, we would go to sleep at night and we would hear nuts piling above our bed. And then it was like Tetris, and like it wouldn't, or not Tetris.
You'd hear them like start cheeping. They'd be like cheep, 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 and then all these nuts would roll down the ceiling because we've got
and then they would fall, and like their pile would fall, and you would hear them like screeching and yelling at each other. It was like literally an angry married couple stacking nuts.
Oh my goodness,
it was awful.
I used to love squirrels. Now, not so much.
But thankfully, we are squirrel free. Thank you.
Thankfully. Knock on the walls. Knock on the walls. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Thanks so much for listening or watching the video if you're on YouTube. On the next episode, we're going to talk about budgeting and some things that worked for us and some things that didn't work for us. And hopefully we'll be able to give you some tips on how to achieve your financial freedom goals, whether that be pay off your house, pay off your car, get out of debt.
Go on a vacation.
Go on a vacation, yeah.
Whatever it is, whatever goals that you have for yourself, they are totally achievable. And we are so excited just to be a part of your journey and encourage you that you can have your financial dreams come true. And so we're excited to talk about budgeting and how that plays a huge role in you achieving whatever it is that you have for you and your family.